Welcome to Securing America with me, Frank Gaffney, the program that's a kind of owner's manual for protecting the country we love against all enemies, foreign and domestic, to the glory of God and his kingdom. A man who has been doing heroic work protecting the country we love, most especially against its most serious threat, is, I'm very pleased to say, one of our regulars here at Securing America and our first guest for this program. His name is Gordon Chang. He contributes extraordinarily to the public debate about the Chinese Communist Party, what it's up to, what it means for the rest of us, and most especially, what we must do about it. We're always privileged to be able to catch up with him briefly. Gordon, it's great to have you back with us.
Thanks so much, Frank.
I want to start by asking you about what's been developing since we last talked, Gordon. It's been a while. We're really glad to have you back. Shanghai, the largest city in China, one of the largest in the world, is now in, I think, its third week of lockdown of a kind that, frankly, George Orwell, on his worst day, I don't think could have conceived of. Tell us what's going on, what it's having in terms of an effect on the people of Shanghai and maybe on, world economic affairs as well as a result of, a major port being taken out. And then what's motivating it, as best you can tell?
Beijing has locked down Shanghai, a city of 25.1 million. It's been an almost complete exercise. It started out, Frank, and a little history here might help. It started out at the end of last month as an announcement that there would be 2 5-day lockdowns in Shanghai, successive, one for the eastern part of the city, the other for the western part of the city. And it was meant that everyone would be tested. And the rules were pretty draconian, but they were nothing like we see today. What happened is this has been extended now for both sides of the city are in complete lockdown. And this is the strictest that we have ever seen anywhere, stricter than what China did in Xi'an and stricter than Wuhan. In the last couple days, because of the incredibly fierce protests of people in Shanghai, they've had to relax it a little bit, but still people cannot move freely. This is, I think, certainly disrupting global supply chains. For instance, throughput at the Shanghai container terminal, the largest in the world, down 40%. Cargo throughput at Shanghai's Pudong Airport, down 97%. We will feel this in about a month or so as this contributes to American inflation. But at the present time, Beijing right now doesn't have really any answers to Omicron BA2, which is the subvariant that is ripping through Shanghai and other parts of China.
And are you persuaded that that's actually what's prompting these draconian measures, Gordon? There's speculation that there may actually be another disease out there. We've heard reports of hemorrhagic fever, which is a particularly nasty bit of business. Also, that this really may be about Xi Jinping's determination to hold on to power at a time when he's being buffeted from within.
Well, there are reports of hemorrhagic fever. They've been around for months, but I believe that this is almost entirely due to a couple other things, mostly political. First of all, Xi Jinping would like a precedent-breaking third term as General Secretary of the Communist Party. If the party holds to schedule, it will have its 20th National Congress in October or November, when Xi expects to become dictator for life. He is considered to be the author of China's zero COVID policy, which is resulting in these lockdowns. So any criticism of that policy is considered to be critical to Xi Jinping's future. This lockdown doesn't make sense from any perspective. And there's only one person in China who's being benefited from this, and that's Xi Jinping himself. But there's also a couple other things that are working here. First of all, you have basically a China has 2 vaccines, but neither of them work against Omicron BA2. And Beijing believes that its only defense against this is massive testing, contact tracing, and isolation. Now, it's not working. And as we have got hints of, actually, China's extreme measures have been spreading the disease rather than stopping it, because you have people lining up for testing, they infect each other, they're being infected in these quarantine facilities. This just doesn't make sense. But I'm sorry to go on here, but the point is that the Communist Party believes that every case infection, every death, it tests the legitimacy of the party. Early 2020, they made their control of this disease a matter of their own legitimacy. They criticized the United States. And so therefore, right now, they cannot have this disaster on their hands because it reflects on the ability of the Communist Party to survive.
Do you think it may actually not in the end benefit Xi Jinping and perhaps put in jeopardy his re-election bid?
I actually think so, Frank. And the reason is that he's already come under intense criticism for a number of other policy failures, mostly from Shanghai gang faction of Jiang Zemin. And, even in the best of times, you take politics out of this. This is before communism. Shanghai and Beijing were rivals. But this is intensified under communism because Mao Zedong really accelerated this fight. And now, of course, when you have the two rivals in the Communist Party, Jiang Zemin, former leader, head of the Shanghai gang, and you have Xi Jinping firmly ensconced in Beijing. So there's a lot going on under the surface. We don't know all about it, but we do see symptoms of intense political infighting.
And many reasons for it, not least of which are problems with the economy, problems with food, clearly the public health problems as well. Gordon, let me pivot, if I can, to another topic with you quickly before we have to take a short break, and that is, amidst all of this, how is Xi, as you see it, playing the Russia alliance amidst the blowback on Russia of its invasion of Ukraine? Is that something that is also going to be a problem for Xi, do you think? Or is he navigating it adequately from the Chinese perspective and benefiting clearly from energy supplies, food supplies, and stuff from Russia as a result?
Well, Xi's personal opinion has been to back Vladimir Putin to the hilt, giving him everything that he wants. We know that a number of Chinese officials, perhaps a majority, are not happy with this, but they're in no position to stop him on it. And this one, I don't think he's going to get as much in the way of criticism internally. One of the things that we have noticed over the last 3 or 4 days is that Xi Jinping has been under pressure from the United States and has been backing away from Putin. But this is only because he's concerned that U.S. will impose sanctions on him. Mm-hmm. So there's been a lot of back-channel diplomacy. And although it had not been effective up until about a week ago, we are now starting to see signs that China is moving away. For instance, they're not buying May oil, although they are honoring pre-May contracts. And we're seeing some other aspects of it, as, for instance, Huawei is closing its offices in Russia. But this is only under threat of sanctions from the U.S.
And do you think it's real, that there actually are material steps being taken and that they are going to translate into an actual distancing of China from Russia at this point?
Well, there is a distancing, but the issue is whether it's a sufficient distancing. So, for instance, we saw China supply anti-aircraft missiles to Serbia, which were delivered about 3 or 4 days ago.
Hold the thought. We're going to come right back with more with Gordon Chang on Russia, China, Ukraine, and more right after this.